3 reasons why making a conscious partnership, a happy, healthy, safe, loving relationship a priority right now is so important. Okay, so reason number 1, I'll start with this. Some of you may know that my path into self-development and then into the relationship space actually came through the martial arts and teaching self-defense. What you might not also know is that more than just teaching people how to like physically keep themselves safe on the street from not being mugged and things like that, I actually taught people how to keep themselves safe in the bigger picture of things. And so my actual title was like a self-protection instructor or self-protection consultant, depending on who I was working with and how much they were paying me. So that would include teaching people how to navigate sort of unsafe environments while traveling, semi-hostile environments, keeping their businesses safe, protecting their homes as well. And my way into that on the personal level is through many experiences from my early childhood and then professionally developed later on was this capacity to see danger coming and the ability to avoid it by basically foreseeing bad stuff going down. So why am I talking about this? Because listen, I don't want to be another voice on the internet of gloom and doom. There's more than enough of that, and if you watch the news, that's all it is, right? But what I will say is this, and again, I qualify myself with this very high degree of confidence in my ability to read people and situations and see what's coming. I've always been good at this my entire adult life. And I am saying the next few years in the world is about to get very weird. I don't know exactly in what ways, but that's what I know. That's in my soul. And here's why relationship fits into that. The difference between how you are affected by the world and what's going on in the world when you are in a safe, loving partnership, when you have this other person and you have each other's back and you are on the same team and you are, before everything else, you are deeply friends, not just partners in this marriage and, this intense thing that we tend to make it, but you are friends. And that's a very profound thing. And I could do a whole video on that. But when you have this partnership, when you have that, the way you are affected by the external world is massively different compared to if you are in a relationship that is not that, that is not going well, where it's disconnected, where at best maybe it's like you're like sort of roommates who happen to live together, or at worst there is deep resentments that are surfacing and you're like trapped in this home or this relationship, even if you don't live together, without being able to navigate all those resentments and past hurts and everything else that's going on. And then the world gets crazy. Look, and also, and as you know, there was a spike in divorces during the, we're not supposed to say it, apparently algorithms don't like it, but you know what happened in 2020 and what we're still sort of recovering from in various ways, the way that had a massive spike on divorce rates, relationships breaking up, couples counseling being required, although that's a huge mistake, but anyway, and how that affects you when you're in such a relationship. Also, when you are not in a relationship, and look, there's two types of single, and I don't want to stigmatize anybody who's not in relationships. It's not like you have to be in it, but what we're going into on this little video here is the reasons why it is actually going to be very, very, very beneficial for you if you are in a happy, safe, loving partnership. There are two types of single. There is single and also being in a place within yourself where your relationship to yourself is such that a happy partnership is almost an inevitability for you, where it is going to happen because you have the tools, the knowledge, the understanding, the inner relationship to yourself to be able to do relationship, versus being not in a relationship because you can't do relationships. These are two very different places to be within yourself. And so the reoccurring theme you're going to see throughout the next couple of points I want to make is that the reason being in a happy partnership is such a powerful thing isn't just because of the partnership itself, but because of the person who you have to be in order to make that work and the way that affects all other areas of your life. So in a world that is, look, getting crazy and is not about to get okay anytime very soon, although I am very optimistic that it will if we do the right things, not least of all through partnership, but we'll get to that in a minute, is that I've lost my train of thought, but in a world that is about to get a little bit more crazier, you really want to be in a place within yourself, within your life, where you have already safety, consistency, certainty, and more than anything, love, so that you can move through that as smoothly as possible. And if anything, even thrive in such a situation. Point number 2, children. Now, not all of you have kids or are going to have children, so this doesn't apply to absolutely everybody. But for those of you who do, listen, you might know I have 2 children, a boy and a girl, 14 and 11, and I am extremely blessed and grateful to be able to say that they are doing good. They are doing well. They are thriving in their little lives right now. And as much as I feel very blessed to be able to have that, the truth is I can also take a shit ton of credit for the fact that they are doing so well, as can their mother and as can Beth and also their stepdad as well. We can all give each other high five and say good job, because these kids are doing good despite not least of all the fact that me and their mum separated, which already is statistically puts them in a really bad position. And I don't, it's not the recommended path for most marriages and relationships, honestly. Just to explain what I mean by that is most committed partnerships, long-term relationships do not need to end, in my experience and opinion. And those that do, they do, but most don't. So that's what I meant by that. But not least of all because me and their mum had a somewhat messy separation. But also, and this is the point I really want to make, is that kids right now are being absolutely bombarded with bullshit from all kinds of directions, not least of all because of these things, and mostly, through technology, including my really old phone. But they are receiving content, messages, and literally programming from so many different directions. And look, it's not good. It's not good stuff. Very few children, kids, teenagers are out there consuming self-development content and things that are making them strong and powerful and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a whole conversation about what's happening in the school itself, which is where they're spending the majority of their time. It's a problem. And kids right now are really at a disadvantage, in my opinion, because of this. And it's not just my opinion. You can fucking see it. It's affecting their body, their physical health, the way they socialize with people. The world is not designed right now to help young people thrive and become who they were meant to be. Now, add to that, and you might have saw my post the other day around this, which is, what is their home environment like? And my post was, the relationship or the marriage that maybe you've become kind of like okay with is probably really not okay for any kids that happen to be in that household or in that environment who are watching and witnessing and having their inner template for relationship and the kind of partnerships that they get into in their future being created by you in real time. Okay, their inner blueprint for how relationships work and who they partner with is being formed, whether you like it or not, by you and your partnership. This is just the harsh truth that we have to face as parents. And so here's the thing. This is a number one mistake that parents make, honestly, that I see all the time. And perhaps mostly with mothers, I have to say as well. No judgment, just is what it is. But it's this: the fact that you really, really love your kids, the fact that when you look at them, you think about them, you talk about them, you are filled with this strong feeling of light and love and positive sensation in your body, doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing good by them. It's entirely possible to completely love your children like you die for them, while in the process of really feffing them up. Feffing them up. I'm trying not to swear too much these days. So it's entirely possible. And here's the thing as well, with regards to all the content that they're being bombarded with from their phones, from their friends, from school, from the TV, from the music and the video games and all the other things. I would say magazines too. I don't know if they're even a thing anymore. But despite the fact that they're being bombarded with all that, here's the thing. Even if you had 100% mind control over the programming that their mind was going through, and that you were able to fill them with your content, so to speak, you got to choose the music, choose the game, choose the TV show they watch, all of that stuff. What would that programming, so to speak, be if you and your partnership, your relationship is not going well, and maybe all your past relationships too? So again, it's not a judgment, but it's just a realistic look at, even if you were able to sort of model them based on your internal world and your inner blueprint for relationship, your capacity for relationship, your capacity for self-love and self-care and boundaries and own self-relationship, if you haven't got that squared away or at a high level, how are you going to transmit that to them? Even if you could like literally plug you into their brain, like in the Matrix. Does that make sense? So here's the good news and the the flip side of that, which is, again, when you make conscious partnership, spiritual partnership a priority, and you are able to achieve that, and you are able to achieve that, whoever you are able to achieve that. When you do, by default, the inner relationship with yourself, your inner boundaries, your inner clarity, your inner purpose as well, by default gets put into such alignment that whether you like it or not, starts to positively affect any children in your environment too. So right now, the only reason, look, my kids are getting bombarded by all the same bullshit as everybody else, but they're doing very well. They are confident. They're happy in themselves. They're clear. They, I'm not boasting here, but they are thriving, honestly, in themselves. And again, I'm more beyond grateful to be able to say that. I can't even tell you. I'm sure they'll have bumps in along the road in the future, and I'll do whatever I can for them when that comes. But right now, they are doing well. But that's not because we like hide them from the world. They're still getting bombarded by all this bullshit out there. But this is the power of having a happy, healthy, loving environment at home. And they live most of the time with their mum and their stepdad there. And again, what I'm really blessed and grateful to be able to say is that when we parted ways, she went on some kind of, I don't know exactly what she did, but some kind of epic self-development journey for herself, as I did as well. And the effects are clear to see. So making your partnership a priority right now, if you have children, or even if honestly you have nieces and nephews, super powerful. It's the most loving thing you can do, is to become what Beth and I like to call spiritually selfish right now, and make your capacity for loving partnership a priority. Is the most powerful thing you can do for your kids, 100%. Number 3 is that, along the similar lines to the effect that partnership has on the kids around you, it goes out way further than that. And not many of you will maybe be thinking along these lines, and that's totally understandable. If you're listening to me right now, it's probably because you're in a relationship or have been in past relationships with men who are emotionally unavailable, right? So last thing you're thinking about right now is this point here, but it's this: being in a conscious partnership, being in a spiritually aligned partnership has a ripple effect on the world itself. And the point number three is that the world needs you. The world needs you. And in my belief, the universe itself, a higher power, however that works for you, wants you to be in a happy, healthy, safe, loving relationship. Because here's the thing: my secret agenda, if you will, on the there's layers to this. So obviously I love and enjoy serving and working with women who want to step onto this path of what is ultimately self-development for the sake of their partnership, and watching that transformation happen is like just priceless. But what I love perhaps even more is that when they do so, the effect that that has on the man in their life, whether that's a new man who they connect with, or whether that's the person who they were previously in a disconnected marriage with, the transformation that has on him is like that. You know, if you maybe you've seen in some of the interviews, I get a little bit emotional sometimes, because when men start showing up in this way through the power of your radiance, of your alignment with love itself, that just blows my heart open. And that's my sort of secret agenda, is to see the effect that it has on men in the world too. And then there's children too, but more than that, and this is my real secret plan with doing this work, is that what I know with absolute certainty in my heart is that all the world's problems can be stemmed, brought, boiled down to ultimately somebody who has not had the right loving environment when they needed it growing up, right? So I know this a lot. What I'm talking about today is very sort of children and home centric. But here's the thing: it doesn't just apply to those of you with kids. When you are in a conscious partnership, because of what that requires of you in order to do, it goes hand in hand with living a life that is purposeful. You were put here for a reason. All of us are. Now, whatever your purpose is, whether it's something big out there in the world, or whether it's just sort of within the sphere of your home and your immediate sort of loved ones, whatever that is facilitated by being in a partnership, unlike anything else. Let me put that another way: being in a partnership where you have this person who helps you co-create this environment where you discover new depths to yourself, you're able to express all parts of yourself and really be who you're meant to be, puts you immediately in connection with some sense of purpose. And what we find over and again is that when people are in such a relationship, they start to notice, firstly, a sort of an effect that it's having on the people around them, kids and family members, and all of that being the obvious one, but also strangers in the street. Your partnership now becomes a kind of source of light in a world that sometimes grows very dim. And I believe that every single person out there who uh, has troubles in their life, maybe it's addiction problems, and they're just, they've just not been able to put themselves together, and including people who are otherwise in positions of power but make decisions that are clearly harmful to other people, and sometimes just outright psychotic, um, or psychopathic rather is the word I'm looking for. All of that you can boil all of those people's experience down to not receiving the love that they needed. So what happens then when we create millions of conscious, safe, happy partnerships where people feel free to express who they are, they discover this sense of purpose with themselves, they're able to hold a space for their partner who is also doing the same, and then the children in that environment get this positive blueprint created for the relationship decisions that they're going to make later on in their life, what happens to the world then? It's a ripple effect. And this is why making conscious partnership a priority right now is so important. I believe, and again, might be a bit out there for where you're at right now, but you can heal the fucking world. I honestly believe that. I know it in my soul. And what I really want to do is create as many conscious partnerships in the world as possible. And Beth too, this is deep in her heart as well, that we can heal the world like this. And look, I'm not trying to start some cult of anything, but as many of the women who have come through our program will tell you, is that as they start to fill up and become abundant, and they have so much safety and love within themselves, even if they're not in a partnership, but they have that yet, but they have that within themselves, that naturally starts to overflow outward. And whether you like it or not, whether you even intended this or not, you start to become a very generous person. You start to become giving, and your energy becomes a giving light all by itself. And it's just absolutely beautiful to behold. The world needs it right now. Any children in your life need that right now. I know you would love that right now. If you have a man in your life, he needs you to be there right now. There is just nothing else that could be more important. And again, it's not really about just being in a happy relationship with a man who loves you. That's great and relatively easy to achieve, honestly. But it's the bigger picture of what all of that comes with that and what that means. So please make 2023 a year where you prioritize conscious, spiritual, loving partnership, because that's what, in my belief, a higher power wants for you, and what I know the world needs from you right now. So let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Take care, everybody.